gonna blow people away.
Tell the people how you're feeling, first and foremost.
Just in general?
Yeah, tell us about your life.
I am one step away from ending it all.
Perfect. Me too, after watching White Men Can't Jump, the remake.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Council Pop.
All right, Keith. It's White Men Can't Jump 2023 edition. We're gonna dive in every conceivable way. It's a nice episode of Council Pop. So 60 seconds on the clock. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'd rather you go first.
This movie sucks. It's easily the worst movie I've seen since Space Jam. The new edition, it might be worse than Space Jam. It might be the worst movie I've ever seen. I will be shocked if I'm not here at the end of this year with this as my number one in my top 3 worst movies of the year. It's a horrible waste of time. It is completely joyless and unfun, and I don't think I smiled one time. We'll talk about it. It's just, there's no reason. There's no reason to make this film, and that's before we even get to it's a remake, and we didn't need to remake an original that's really good and everybody still likes. Though that is also true. Just on its own, this film is fucking terrible. It is awful, and it is so bad that it has crossed the line of subjective to objectivity. And it's so bad even beyond that I want to insult people who like it. It is that bad. Like if you try to say this is a good movie, you are incorrect. And you're done. Like, you shouldn't watch movies. Like, it's not your art form. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. It's a bad movie.
It's not your art form. On a t-shirt, should be on a t-shirt. It's not your art form.
Keith?
I should have went first. 60 seconds, timekeeper. The movie is dog shit. Yes, I agree. But I don't think I agree as much. My main takeaway...
Fuck you.
My main takeaway from this film is I start to blame myself. This movie, I guess, is so bad that I begin to blame myself, and here's why. I don't want to be the old man shouting at clouds, in my day they made movies with integrity. This movie feels what modern cinema is today. And I can hear you cringing already, but I feel like I should accept that this is what modern, I don't want to say blockbuster, but like pop culture film has devolved to, and this is the norm. And if you base this film off of today, off of your Red Notice, to pick on that movie for no reason, quality of film, I don't think it's as bad as you say it is in that context. And I start to question myself and I go, am I just holding movies to a standard that just doesn't exist anymore? And do I just need to this is not my art form. So do I need to stop watching movies to your exact point?
No, because
this movie made me have a crisis. The movie is so bad, it made me have a crisis about where I am as a person. Not good.
It is your art form, though. That's the problem. You are literally a filmmaker.
That's very sweet of you to say.
and you are someone who really loves and adores films. So, fuck that. Like, we're not, like, just because most mainstream film projects now, we're speaking very generally, but most mainstream, those are the qualifiers, are not great at best, does not mean we just go like, oh, that's how it is now. Because it's not even like a style of filmmaking. We're talking about quality. So we're not just going to accept that the quality is shitty now, where it's like, oh, it's like fine art. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, nowadays people just literally like vomit onto a canvas and hang it up. But that's what they all do now. It's art. So like, this vomit at least had Fruit Loops in it. You know, like
but
it's not.
But isn't art a product of its time? This is the position I'm going to take all episode, just because we can sit here. You can do the job of saying how shitty this movie is. My question is like, is that not what movies are? And do we need to accept it?
Because this is shitty by that standard too. This is shitty by shitty standard.
What you think this movie is worse than Mortal Kombat? You think this movie is worse than Godzilla vs. Kong?
Yes, and those were, I mean, to be fair, those were two of my least favorite films of that year. So I thought those films were exceptionally bad. Yes, I think this movie clears all of those in terms of
I don't think it's worse. I don't think. You think it's gonna be worse than like Fast X? I don't.
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because there's no because 1,000 reasons, but one of the main reasons, and maybe this is a starting point, is like because there's no reason to make this film. Who wanted this film? Who asked for this film?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is to say that this movie is bad because no one wanted this film is not a reflection of the movie. No, I'm not saying that. I'm
just saying that's where I'm starting because you compared it to Fast X, where it's like I'm sure Fast X is fucking awful and it's probably would send both of us into a crisis of big films the way that Red Notice and The Gray Man did for me.
And White Man Can't Jump is doing for me.
Yeah, well, at least Fast X is gonna make $500 million. So the cynic, I'm being cynical here, but all right, there's a purpose there. We know what that movie is. It's big, it's loud, it's stupid. I like big dumb action. I go see that movie. This movie, it's not even a remake. So let's start there.
I mean,
what's a remake?
It's
Why
not a remake.
is this film called a remake? It's not. The characters are different.
Are people calling it a remake?
Yes. Oh, it's the remake. It's the remake. It's listed on all the articles, all the critics, the reviews, the Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, everything. It's a remake of the 1991 classic Ron Shelton film. It's not. It's different characters. It's different story. It's a completely different everything. There's a white guy and a black guy who sometimes play a little basketball together with some hustling aspects sort of sprinkled in. That's literally it. And the only thing they do to compare it to the original is basically kind of take shots at the original and be like, all that race stuff is outdated.
The race shit is dated, bro. Everybody but you knows white dudes can hoop now.
While simultaneously, every line of dialogue in this film is directly about race in a way it was never in the original.
Columbus must think he found some new shit.
Gentrifying.
We ain't never gonna get a reparation that way, bro.
See, that's why white folks make me nervous.
Being lazy, what, you my overseer now?
You really gonna chastise me in front of the white man? In this black community?
I'm just saying you don't scream thuggish, even though you're chocolate.
The fuck is chocolate?
Well, a lot of black people these days are milk chocolate.
I want to be able to talk about this film without always comparing it to the original, because the original is a classic. We've spoken about it before. It's on your top 10 favorite movies of all time. It's a really, really great movie.
A film that is honest, sincere, funny, and dramatic. It hits every sense.
I really tried to go into this movie with an open mind. No, assuming I'm not gonna like it, but I'm good at shutting those voices down. So I just wanted to be like, this make me laugh. I don't know anything about Jack Harlow. He's literally the only person in this film I've heard of outside of his girlfriend Laura Harrier, I believe is her name.
And Vince Staples. You know Vince Staples?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see Vince Staples. Like, is that fucking Vince Staples? But you know what I mean. Like the main cast here, not a lot of stars. So I thought I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna watch this. It'll probably make me chuckle. I'll be mad they did it. The end. It's just so forgettable and lame and awful. I'm sorry. I'll let you talk because I don't have a direction to go. It's really hard for me. I have a lot of specifics, but
yeah, about what's bad. What's the point? I guess for the sake of this argument, and I'm trying to not be negative because I can be and I want to be, but I'll take the side of someone who's 22 years old. I'll try and slip in. I mean, I know I have the physique and just
You're
the
not
charisma
22?
of a young 22-year-old boy. About someone in their shoes, a 22-year-old kid who likes Jack Harlow, who likes basketball, and watches movies like Fast X and likes those shitty movies like today's cinema. I feel like they put Jack Harlow in a position to succeed. They didn't ask him to do anything but flirt with people.
Somehow he did not succeed, but we'll come back to it.
I understand where you're gonna come from, but shut up. But Jack Harlow, what he does well in public, his public persona is he's charming, he's cute, he's charismatic. He's a cool guy, and they put him in a situation to just only do that. Like, he doesn't trash talk, he's not negative, he's just like, oh, I love your thighs today, they're really doing great. Oh man,
he just flirts with everybody.
He
That's
flirts
his
with
trash
everybody,
talk.
yes.
I gotta tell you, Those short shorts look incredible on you.
I'm a shit talker myself.
You have an OnlyFans? But only because I have a soft spot for thick-ass ballers like you.
But if you handed me Jack Harlow as a director and you say, do something with this guy who can't act, that's what I would do with him. That's playing to a strength. A strength. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. So if I come to see Jack Harlow be kind of cool, that's what he does well. He's kind of flirty and fun and charming, and like they give him that opportunity to do that. Their relationship was okay. I don't know the kid's name, but Sidney Dean's character, it's not even his character's name, but his character, I thought he did okay. He could play basketball at least. You know, like. Okay, like their go back and forth was okay. Some of the cinematography was nice. I really liked that orange glow, that first dancing, the girl from Spider-Man Homecoming or whatever. What was
that? Some fucking montage to a SZA song or whatever?
Yeah,
what was the point of that?
It was pretty. It was cool. There was vibrant colors. It was loud. In terms of like colors,
Jesus Christ!
Like, it was
pretty, vibrant colors.
Yeah, like
it was loud.
It's not a decent
movie.
Like it wasn't like out of focus.
Oh, Jesus Christ,
like,
Keith.
It was fine. They tried to have a little bit of heart to it. I like the fact that his dad died. I'm not rooting for anyone's dad to die, but like I like that the main character's dad passed away because again, there's like stakes. It's not 100% happy ending.
There's no fucking stakes.
I'm just trying to give you a couple things that like, if I'm a young viewer and I don't want to put my thinking hat on and I just
Exactly. But that we shouldn't celebrate any aspect of that. This is the definition of like a background film. Put this film on in the background, look up once in a while. Hey, what's happening? Oh, they're going to a tournament now? Cool. Oh, Vince Staples said something kind of funny. Back in the phone. Like,
But that's what movies are today. Again, for 22-year-old, for young 20s kids, that's what movies are. Especially if it's going straight to Hulu. You're putting that on at a party. You know, you're putting that on and listening to Jack Harlow's music as you like watch this movie. Like, I just think that's what modern pop culture cinema has become. And do we need to change how we grade that? Because it tried to do a couple things in terms of filmmaking. It tried to do a couple things. I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
I thought it was incompetent from top to bottom. I thought the directing was incompetent. I thought the cinematography was really boring. I thought the editing was totally fucked. Like what? Like has anyone here ever shot a basketball game? Like the basketball was boring. The entire end sequence in that tournament where there's game 1, game 2, game 3, championship game. There's just random long slow motion shots that don't mean anything. So then at the very end when Sidney Dean hits his game winner, I had no idea that was even the game winner. And it's this slow motion jumper, this boring ass shot, and everybody's like, yeah, I can't believe it. It's like that, my fucking grandma can hit that shot. Like why 5 minutes ago, Vince Staples bricked a shot that was in slow motion for about 3.5 minutes. So why did I think this shot was any more important? It's the same fucking, like, no one knew what they were doing. And I feel like most people had the sense to stay away from this thing. I think this is a shameless, like, Jack Harlow vehicle. And that's why, like, Laura Harrier, the girl from Spider-Man and Black Klansman, who's Klay Thompson's ex-girlfriend, talented actress, it has nothing to do, is a prop for the background to help Jack Harlow apologize and feel bad about himself. And then Tiana Taylor, Sidney Dean's wife, has like, okay, she's interesting. She has some edge. She's a good character. She's there in 2 scenes. Like,
that is a very large disservice. Just to I'll join you for a minute. It was a huge disservice to the film and downright disrespectful to the first film. How they minimalized the female characters in this film versus what they meant to the first film.
Who invited you in my house anyway?
I did. And I want to talk to, what's her name? Gloria.
They were driving forces, both of them were driving forces to the film. They were the reason that the 2 women forced those 2 men to play together to work together rather than to fight each other, to drive the entire narrative like forward. They were going back and forth, and then they forced them to, no, you guys are gonna play together so you can win together. Stop all this bullshit. Like, that's a huge part in the narrative of the story, where these girls are background at best in terms of the story.
And everybody gets what they want at the end, which goes against really the whole point of the first one. Like, there are no consequences. I just don't understand, because to me, either everyone involved in this production has never seen the first White Men Can't Jump, or they don't like it. Like, they actively don't like it. Because they certainly don't understand what makes it great, what it was saying, and why people might want to rewatch something like that today. To me, it's so shitty because you're only using the title and the IP as just a very cheap gimmick to try to lure in maybe some older audience members who otherwise wouldn't watch this crummy, low-budget movie about teenage, early 20s ball players. So we go, let's call it White Men Can't Jump. That might get more viewers because there's guys our age and older who are gonna want to watch it because it's a classic film. We'll bring Ron Shelton in as like a whatever, like an assistant writer to the new story or advisor or whatever. We'll put his name in the credits. And then we'll just tell the story that we want to tell, and we'll do it however we want. It'll be completely different. So like, fuck that. You're not, like, that's not cool. Like, that's shitty. That's a stupid corporate thing to do.
Yeah. I looked at this movie, you're 100% right. I looked at this movie a lot like I looked at the female Ghostbusters. That shouldn't have been a Ghostbusters movie. It should have just been 4 girls fight ghosts and call it girl ghost fighters. Like, call it something else. Who gives a shit? Like, I should be in movies. You're right. I should be writing, directing.
God, I need to write this down.
But it should be, you know what I'm saying? Like, call it something. Call it anything.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way too. Like, it has nothing to do. I don't understand why they think it's a good decision, because in this case or the other case, because everyone who likes that IP will immediately hate what you're trying to do because it's not what they love.
Yeah.
So you're losing that audience with that IP.
But they think they're gaining it. They think they're gaining it.
That's what I don't understand. And then everybody who they are targeting for has never seen that movie, the original movie. No one's seen White Men Can't Jump who is meant to see this movie. So why do you give a shit if they know about White Men Can't Jump, the first one? Call it Two Dudes Play Basketball. Another great title. Like, I agree. I don't understand why they think they're getting so much value. You're only angering people at best. And you're alienating the others who, like, they go, oh, why do I care? It just doesn't.
Yeah, they don't care.
It doesn't.
You're either going to make people mad or they're going to be indifferent.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? You could just make everybody indifferent to your shitty movie, like, without doing that. So that's a major issue for me.
That is stupid.
Okay, positivity. I'll say my one thing. The only time this movie made me smile/laugh was when they got to Venice Beach at some point, and there was like that old-time baller, that old-timer. And he was like coming up, and he said something about like,
It's like Mangri-La up in that motherfucker. I got a stripper pole that's like 30 feet tall. The big girls come down fast. You should come hang out.
bring some bitches.
Bring some bitches.
Like that guy. That guy made me laugh. And I was like, why doesn't the whole movie feel like this? Like, that's the other thing about this movie. I feel like it has no idea of, is it a comedy? Is it not? Because there's moments where the comedy is like really forced and overt. And then that doesn't feel that feels at odds with, like, they're trying to pull on heartstrings with this like issue with his dad and all this shit. Like, it's really inconsistent. And I think another part that plays into that kind of like tonal monotony is that Jack Harlow really plays it very like monotonous.
Regenerative medicine. It can heal my ACLs. Rich people are obsessed with it.
I can see that he's supposed to be charming, and maybe he's charming as his rapper persona. I'm not super familiar with his music, but like, he's so dry.
I feel you. My girl's a crazy talented choreographer.
To me, everyone in this movie is trying to be cool, and no one's trying to like be a good character.
Yeah.
And so, to me, Woody Harrelson, which is our comparison, unfortunately, like Billy Hoyle was like not cool. Yeah, Billy Hoyle. He was not cool. He was not afraid to be like goofy, a fucking geek.
himself.
A fucking geek.
A fucking geek, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Jack
Yeah,
Harlow's just like cool, and he's even, like I said, his trash talking is really like playful and flirty.
I think it was pretty weak that they changed the character. I mean, they changed everything for him to be this like super positive guy, rather than where they were really trash talking in the old one.
Don't worry, Sidney. I've hustled a hell of a lot better players than you before. Don't put up no brick.
They were biting. You know, they were sharp insults that weren't meant to be like, oh man, loving what you're doing, bro. That's so good. Like it's you're laughing like at Jack Harlow almost. But
Yeah,
that's
like
all
he's trying to make them uncomfortable a little bit instead of
Yes.
just like
being like,
But then-
I'm actually on the offense here. I'm actually attacking you. I'm actually doing something.
But the flip side is when in the beginning of the movie, when the first time we meet Jack Harlow and he has this little shoot off with Sidney Dean, part 2, he's like really kind of mean.
Was that guy just a random fan? Where'd you end up playing in college?
Like not fun, like not playful, just like
yeah.
shitty. Like he sucks. He's a shitty, unlikable person who's
But
super
he is not
selfish.
like that the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie, he is a fun-loving, super nice.
But he's still a piece of shit. Like when he meets that other white baller in the gym, and that guy's a douchebag, and he clearly sucks. I know my IG's popping and all that really forced dialogue, like white on white crime or whatever the fuck, like that forced jokes. But like he's still like, hey, what's up, man? Respect, good to meet you. And Jack Harlow's like, fuck you. You know, I was like, why? You're a piece of shit. And then Sidney Dean's the same way. He's a piece of shit. He's violent. He's like, oh, I'm sorry that your dad was hard on you. You know, like fuck you. You don't get to like just fight everybody. Like they're both unlikable. They're both unlikable, and they're your main character, and they are without an ounce of charisma. Like that old white man can't jump is 90% charisma.
Oh, it is hard goddamn work being this good.
Those 3 leads are incredible.
Yes. Here's my biggest takeaway of why I truly hate this film. I feel like I'm picking on it, but
fuck them.
They truly stripped out the essence of what this film was about. To your point, I guess either they hate the first film or they didn't understand what it's about. The fact that he kept coming in and saying, oh, that old shit is outdated or whatever. Like don't judge white people.
Now see, you assumed I couldn't hoop because I'm white, which is incredibly outdated. By the way.
I assumed you couldn't hoop because you walk around with testicles around your neck, bro.
You know, they can play basketball now. That's crazy. That judgment is the key to the first movie working. Because you go into the movie thinking that these two people are polar opposites. By the end of the movie, you realize they have more in common than they do not, and that they are the same. That's the lesson. That's what you learn from that first film, and how their love of basketball drives them to be very similar people. Their competitive nature drives them to be similar. They're more alike than they are not. And it's a metaphor for how white and black people can get along together, because we have more in common than we don't.
Look to the cookie, Elaine. Look to the cookie.
And the fact that they just make them these bland, non-hustlers, they just strip away every sense of what makes these people individuals, and it just becomes this bland, washed, mushy piece of shit. Like it's so disheartening to see that the essence of the film, they couldn't find a way to try and bring like the essence of what the first film was and evolve it. They just took it out completely.
Exactly. Put a modern spin on that kind of message or that kind of theme. Like that would be where you start, I would think. If you're writing this script, you're making this film. You start there. And they just never get to it. And if anything, they just jokingly toss it aside. Like, I don't want to see a remake of White Men Can't Jump. So, you know, I'm not saying, man, they should have just did shot by shot with new people. Like, no. Like, of course not. Of course not. But you have to, like, why, again, it comes back to why remake it? Why call it this and make it this if it has nothing to do with any of it? The story or theme or anything. To me, there's so much in the first film that is about, like, the joy of the game, like the love of the game. And that is not present at all here. These two leads are always fucking pissed off when they're playing basketball. They're pissed, they're miserable, they're angry, they're injured, they're upset. Fuck! There's no joy. Like that's really strange to me, because that was a huge like sub-theme of the first film, where that first film made me love basketball. Like it literally made me go try out for the team, because I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful game and these guys love it so much and they're cool as shit. Like I want to be like these guys.
I wasn't obsessed with basketball at a young age, but this movie kind of introduced that obsession to me. Like this movie was really transformational.
This movie, if you were a little kid and you didn't really know basketball that well and you watch this movie, would you be like, yeah, basketball. What a beautiful, fun game. What a good time.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how little basketball is involved with the film. They cut around everything so much, you didn't get a moment to enjoy the game. I assume because Jack Harlow is really shitty at basketball, that they just felt the need. I don't think you see him shoot and it go in more than one time. Like they'll just like tight shot of hands and then a ball going in. And there's like, he goes up to shoot and then cut to some other different space. Like they cut it so much that you couldn't get involved in the games, which the other one did so well. I mean, I remember in our last episode you talking about that spin move that around where Wesley Snipes puts the ball around and spins around and I remember these moves because they were in the flow of a game. You got to get a sense of it and why he was doing it and how it was happening and how their styles of play were different. Like you really did get a sense of those things.
And I knew what the fucking score was, so I knew that it mattered.
It mattered at that moment. But a big theme also, again, going back to like, not just how you shoot and present basketball, which is non-existent here, but to your point, how that leads into who these people are. Sidney Dean is all flash, really flashy. Woody Harrelson is more earnest and more sincere and more, and that's microcosm of white and black people, and that they deal with that whole thing. Like
that's their character development.
Their character development is through the game of basketball.
Black man wants to look good first, win second. That is the most ridiculous piece of philosophical bullshit I have ever heard.
God, it's so intelligent filmmaking. And it's really disappointing. Again, when I just say they stripped out the heart and soul of this film, these are the things that I'm trying. It's hard to express it all, but these are the types of things. Character development through the game of basketball is non-existent here. It's sad.
And amplified too. That's a great point. It's a great point because that's exactly right. You learn about their characters through the way they play in the old one, and that's an important part. In this one, what's the fucking decision to have them always be playing 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 or whatever? They're never 2-on-2, and then they even take a shot at one point and go like,
but what are we, 12? I ain't playing in no 2-on-2 tournament.
So they're shitting on the old movie that you're supposedly paying homage to or whatever. And then the point of the 2-on-2 is that that's how they learn to work together. It's so fucking weird.
I know.
Explain to me the character. What does it do for the character and for the arc? Anyone. Like this was the film was a fucking dip of low points. And at the very end, the final confrontation, the final game, where they're talking shit with the fucking dude on the side of the court, and he's threatening him, and Jack Harlow limps over to him and sucker punches him, totally sucker punches him, and gets thrown out of the game. That's his fucking contribution? Like what? Like that's his shining moment?
Yeah.
I fucking bitched up and slapped this guy, and then I got thrown out and I'm injured. Like, great. That's our hero, and he gets everything he wants. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
That is awful writing. That your two characters have nothing, the final shot of the game has nothing to do with your lead. Like, he's gone.
That is another, there's a handful of like worst moments. I really didn't want to do this, guys. I really didn't want to do it. I wanted to try and find positivity, and I can't do it because you bring it out of me, Everett. That was welcome. One of the, I was so angry. I really was really fucking angry, I'm sorry, about that. Because again, to compare it to the first one, the emotional climax of the first one is him dunking. It's a contribution to the game, and it is a confirmation to himself that he can do it, that he belongs there. He's showing the world that he can overcome. Like, that's his moment in the sun. That dunk means more than just a dunk because of what you've seen the whole fucking movie. They took that beautiful metaphor and made it a fucking sucker punch. That's the equivalent. The equivalent to that film is in the beginning of the film, he goes, I'm just a nice, positive guy. I'd never hit someone.
Yeah.
Tchaikovsky's gun or whatever. Like in the first act, you say, I never hit anyone. At the end of the movie, he fucking sucker punches someone.
But then...
Circle closed. That's your big emotional fucking, he fucking punches someone. That's a big fucking, that has nothing to do with anything. It has nothing to do with anything.
This is what they're trying to do, and this is such further proof of how shitty this is. Right after he does it, what gets said? Vince Staples and the other dude say,
He a nigga now, huh?
Like they say,
right.
I guess. So that's the fucking metaphor that they've translated is instead of dunking and rising above in the first one, that he now belongs. Oh, now he belongs because he's starting a fucking street fight.
Yeah, because he's fighting.
And this is somehow going to be a more progressive, updated version. Like, fuck that. That is so stupid.
Yeah.
It is so stupid across the board.
I was angry about that.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then the big shot, like I said, is some fucking boring ass Jay that's in slow motion. That's like, again, I had no idea the game was almost over.
Yeah,
I was like, why is everybody cheering? Because I don't even, like, maybe I missed it, but I don't think anyone was like, hey, game point, you know, like, let me know what's happening. Oh, this is important. Oh, it's an uphill battle. Like, it wasn't. None of it mattered. It was so bad. What did Jack Harlow's character learn?
Nothing. And you know what made me really angry? God damn it. I'm just gonna keep shitting all over this movie now. The gloves are off. You know what sucks about this fucking movie? The twofold. They're playing 2-on-2 the whole time to hustle money for literally no motivation. There's no reason for them to do it. They just every motivation in this film is I need money. That's the only that's the level of thought that goes into it. Well, they just need money, so they do it. But there's not enough there. Neither here nor there. I'm already digressing. But they play 2-on-2. They go in that tournament. It's a 2-on-2 tournament. And then the entry, the winning in that tournament gets you the entry fee to this 3-on-3 tournament. Why 3-on-3 now? Why? And now why is there alternates? Why in the end, all of a sudden, he's there in front of the car playing Ed Sheeran, ha ha ha. And he goes, what are you doing here? We have our 3 for 3-on-3, even though we've been playing 2-on-2 this whole fucking time. Now it's 3-on-3 for some reason, and we're covered. Oh, because there's an alternate. Well, why are you gonna play? Because my girl needs money, so I gotta do it. Like it just happens. It just happens because they want it to happen and because they need money. That's the deepest motivation they give these characters is they'll do whatever for money. So it has nothing to do with basketball. The first movie, it was motivated through basketball and through identity. And now it's just, well, I need the cash, bro. I need the cash, so fuck it. Everyone needs money. It sucks. It just sucks.
You know what else was super stupid? The whole inciting incident of this is that first scene where they're he hustles him kind of, which is also fucking stupid. Well, that Jack Harlow's like a top Gonzaga player, and Sidney Dean too is LeBron James coming out of high school on ESPN, and no one fucking recognizes them, including each other. Like, so fucking stupid. But in that first scene, they have the shootout, and he's super fucking vicious to Sidney Dean's character, and you belong in jail and blah blah blah. And then he takes his money, he humiliates him, he embarrasses him, and then the guy runs out after him to hand him his clean canteen, his water bottle. Like, hey man, you forgot this.
Well, he's
in what world does that guy run out after the car?
He throws it out.
Oh, here's his name.
I guess I'll give it back to him. I Googled you. But why? But even I'll take it one step further. Why would he needs to go play 2-on-2 to get some cash because that's the motivation for everything. Why him? LeBron James doesn't know literally any other basketball players in the world why him?
Yeah,
because he hit 4 shots?
This corny, rude white dude who hit 4 jumpers this is the guy.
This
Like,
is the guy.
He's worth
No.
tracking down on Google and finding it, the
Just
gym
like,
and shit.
to be like, oh man, he really showed me something. In the first one, I mean, I just keep saying, I don't want to just explain the first one over and over and over again, but there is a real methodic cause and effect to every action that happens in that film. This happens, and then because of that, then this happens. I just watched a great little piece from Trey Parker.
What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word therefore or but, right? So what I'm saying is that you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No, it should be this happens and therefore this happens.
That's the difference between these two movies. In this movie, it's just this happens and then this happens and then this happens. And it's just fucking mind-blowing that professional people who make hundreds of things a year, like they make so much money and content that they can't figure this out. They're entrusted to do it. Like, why am I sitting here saying this about a huge film that just came out? Like, it's a massive film that has come out, and like I have to sit here and belittle it like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's ridiculous.
But you do. Like that's where like there's rare is the movie that is so bad that I will credit your filmmaking skills. I do want to say, like, this movie is so bad that it is insulting. And I feel like that is this like funny cliche, like, I was insulted. This movie was so bad. This movie, if you're gonna take my time, which I would have never watched this movie if we didn't do this show, and I would have turned it off a million times. Every 5 minutes, I was like, garbage, done. Didn't, I have to finish it for this. But like, you're taking my time. I'm giving you 90 minutes, 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. Like, don't be aggressively horrible. That's like, don't just be like, fuck it. Because to your point, and then, this is just like stream of consciousness storytelling. Like, oh, and that, maybe he'll be mad and drunk in this scene. And, oh, and in this scene, he can do this. Or explain to me what fucking injury there is where you have your ACLs are destroyed, and every once in a while it goes, and you can't walk. But then the next day you can go play pickup ball again.
Yeah.
Like that happens. Like, what? What?
Yeah.
Like the first time that happened, he's like, ah, and he like goes down. He has to get helped out or whatever. It's like, oh, so he's not gonna play for 6 months. Like whatever just happened was very serious. No, he's fine. He just walks it off.
Yeah. Everything's super muddy. Everything's super muddy. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Some of the other forced humor that I thought, like, this would happen towards the end that I finally put this all together, and I realized it was really indicative of, like, how shitty I think this writing is. Like, the funny parts aren't even that funny. Like, there's a lot of moments where there's, like, a punchline, and then it cuts to a different scene, or it progresses later in the day. So you're like, oh, that means the writers thought that was really funny. You know, like, if that's the end, the scene ender, that should be really funny. And so the one I wrote down was just like,
dude, how do you think Tiger Woods grew back his leg after they amputated it?
That didn't happen.
Cut. Like, well, is that really funny? That didn't happen? Like that's your comedy? And then I thought like the Vince Staples' girlfriend, the thick white girl that he's like references throughout the film is named Mildred.
Mildred?
And I kept thinking like, why is this character named Mildred? That's so weird. And then I realized, oh, it's because they were trying to think of like a white ass name, Mildred. And so then I looked at the popularity of Mildred over the years. Mildred peaked in 1914. And since then is a fucking flat line at 0. Like there is no one named Mildred in the world. Like, so go fuck yourself. Like that's like what's a white
comedy.
name? Mildred.
You don't understand comedy, Everett. It's
like that's
it's a funny name. Because no one has
it's an old white lady name, but
they might as well name her Gertrude. It's the same.
Even Gertrude, I bet you there's a couple little bumps in the 80s and 90s. Not fucking like.
If you want to talk comedy, if I may say so, the worst part of this film, something you said earlier about them trying to balance comedy and sincerity and emotions. No bigger swing. If I may say, this was reminiscent of the Doctor Strange mustard spell of just like, what the fuck? What the fuck is what the fuck am I watching? All of a sudden I stepped into a cartoon. This wasn't a cartoon at all until this very point. They did it twice in this film. Maybe you know what I'm gonna say already. The flamethrower and the guy playing pickup basketball wearing a bike helmet and the leotard and the little like mirror piece. Like those two things are so far out of what any sort of sense of realism that you would have assumed the film was grounded in something. You know, some level of like a grounded nature. Like this could really happen until those things. And to make it even fucking worse, the best scene of White Man Can't Jump, the first one, is the Raymond scene.
I'm going to my car. Get my other gun. Shoot everybody's ass.
Where he says, I'm gonna go get my other gun, shoot everybody's ass, and they replaced it with a dumb, cartoonish flamethrower bit, and it's insulting to anyone who's ever seen White Man Can't Jump. It's insulting.
Like you don't know what made the first one impactful, and you don't know what made it funny. Like you don't know what made it likable, you don't know what made it good. So why do this? That shit, I forgot about the fucking bicycle helmet with their but those are supposed to be consequential games to illustrate the growth of your relationship together as you hustle, but you're playing with people like this. Like and those kind of scenes have so much opportunity for humor because those of us who play pickup ball, we play street ball, you know the fucking guy that you go to the rec center or whatever, and he's wearing jeans. And you're like, fuck, can't trust this fucking guy, or he's fucking awful. He's either awful or he's a killer. Like anybody with jeans, I was always a little wary of, and we would all joke about that. Like you go out there and somebody's wearing like jeans and a wife beater to go play fucking hoop, you'd be like, okay, I don't want this guy on my team, and I don't want to piss him off. So put in some of that stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's
that kind of that would be funny because it's real, it's relatable, and you could still poke fun at like maybe like the corny white stereotypes that you're trying to do in those scenes. But you found some leotard fuck.
Yeah, it just like it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
To me, it just all comes back to being like a background film. Where it's like, I was looking at my phone, I looked up. Oh, that's funny. Look at it, got some fucking square out there with the helmet. Okay, head back down.
Back to my
okay, now,
Twitter.
Oh shit, he just told him. Oh shit, he just knocked that guy out. Okay. Like there's no fucking art. There's no art. I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa. It doesn't have to be fucking The Godfather. But just don't be fucking whatever. You know?
But that goes to be full circle. I will ask you one more time, even though I know your answer. Is that what modern pop culture cinema is? It is just background, casual viewing, inconsequential visuals.
If it is, we should all fight against that and we should revolt. Like, that's my point. People need to know that, and that's why I started this off by insulting anyone who likes it. And so I'll walk that back a little bit and I'll say, you're not totally an idiot, but necessarily, but you're wrong about this. And I hope that you can be open to being wrong. I know I'm being condescending, but like, you need to know that they think you're stupid. I've said this about other really bad movies. I said this about Red Notice. Like, if you watch Red Notice and you're like, yeah, that was totally fine. That was totally great. Like, the studio system, the corporations that are making the movies now think you're stupid, and if you are watching that and enjoying it, you're proving them right, because that is how they are making these things. They know you don't care, so please start caring, because movies will go away as we know
movies
them.
Are
they already
going away.
We're going to talk about AI at a future conversation. Like this shit is going to be a problem if you're just like, oh, I just need something to put on in the background. Who gives a shit? I'm really just on Instagram. You're killing what we love. Movies like this kill what we love.
20 years from now, when Scorsese and Spielberg are no longer making films, when that day
They'll be
comes,
dead, Keith. You can say it. They're dead.
I would never. When they're no longer making films, when like that crop of like who's left? They're not going to remember. They're just not going to remember how like this is what the new filmmakers are growing up on these films. And like this is becoming normal.
That's really sad.
This is, And again, like there's always going to be sort of the art house, for lack of a better term, film. Like those films will always exist. But why can't there be a white man can't jump? Like that's a great example, while we're here, of like a pop culture film. Like a film that like general audiences can like, that has a little bit of heart, a little bit of a message, a little bit of something, a little bit of substance. And like that's not a flower dying for 12 hours in black and white that you have to suffer through for the sake of art that you would fucking probably jerk
say it was
off to.
good, so everybody thinks you're smart.
So everybody thinks you're smart. Like, oh, you don't get it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, why
I've
can't
seen
they...
that movie, and it is good.
You pretentious asshole. Well, why can't it just, like, it just won't exist ever? Like, why can't that exist? It just won't. It just won't exist anymore. It barely does now.
But people like us got to get in the room, baby. That's what there's a long-winded way just to tell everybody how good we are. Give us a shot.
Have you heard my titles? Should I say them again?